Listen closely, because what you felt yesterday was not what you think it was. He is watching you now, not from a distance, not in silence, but standing right at the edge of your destiny, waiting for you to understand what just happened. You remember that moment, don't you? That sudden no, that closed door, that rejection that felt too sharp, too personal, too final. It hit you like a wave you didn't see coming. One moment you were hopeful, the next you were questioning everything, your worth, your direction, your future. But what if that moment, that exact moment, was not loss? What if it was protection? He sees you replaying it in your mind. He sees how you tried to make sense of it, how you asked, why would this happen now? You thought it was the end of something important. You thought you were being pushed away from something meant for you. But heaven is speaking now, and the truth is cutting through the confusion like light through darkness, that no was not man's decision, it was God's intersection. There are things you were not meant to walk into. There are doors that looked promising but carried hidden weight behind them, burdens that would have drained you, distractions that would have delayed you, environments that would have slowly disconnected you from your true calling. You couldn't see it. You couldn't have known what he did. And in that moment when everything felt like it was slipping away, God stepped in, not to deny you, but to defend you. This is why it felt so intense. This is why it shook you. Because divine interruptions don't always feel gentle. Sometimes they feel like loss before they reveal themselves as protection. He is saying to you right now, if I had allowed that door to open, you would have lost more than you gained. Pause and let that sink in. Because what you were about to step into was not aligned with where you are being taken. It was beneath the level of blessing that has already been prepared for your life. You were reaching for something good, but he is preparing something far greater. And sometimes, the only way to keep you from settling is to close the door you were willing to walk through. He knows you didn't understand it in the moment. He knows it hurt. He knows it made you feel like you were falling behind. But you are not behind, you are being repositioned. Right now, as you hear these words, something inside you is starting to shift. A heaviness, you felt it's lifting. A confusion, it's clearing. Because deep within your spirit, you are beginning to recognize this truth. You were not rejected, you were redirected. And here is where it gets even more powerful, that no was not the end of your path. It was the turning point that aligned you with your real destiny. A destiny so precise, so intentional, so abundant, that anything less had to be removed. He is not taking things away from you. He is making room for what truly belongs to you. So don't mourn that closed door any longer. Don't chase what God has already blocked. Don't question your worth because of something that was never meant to carry your future. Instead, lift your eyes. Because if that door had opened, you would have missed what is coming next. And what is coming next will change everything. Type "I trust the redirection" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now lining your path. He is standing there right now at a place you cannot fully see yet, but you can feel it. There is a tension inside you that you have not been able to explain. A pull in two directions. One part of you wants to move forward, to step into something new, something unfamiliar, something bigger than what you have known. But another part of you hesitates. It questions. It replays the past. It whispers, what if it doesn't work? What if you fall again? What if you lose more than you gain? And this exact moment is where everything changes. Because this is not just confusion. This is not just emotion. This is the edge of your destiny. He watches you standing there, not judging your hesitation, not condemning your fear, but understanding it completely. He knows what you have been through. He knows the disappointments that shaped your caution. He knows the doors that closed and left you questioning your direction. He knows the silent battles you fought when no one else could see. And yet, despite all of that, He has brought you here to this exact point, the place where fear meets faith. You see, destiny is not found in comfort. It is not discovered in certainty. It is revealed in moments like this where the path ahead is unclear, but the call to move forward is undeniable. That is where He stands, not behind you, pulling you back into what is familiar, not far ahead, unreachable and distant, but right at the edge waiting for you to take the step that only you can take. And here is what you must understand. Fear will always speak loudest when you are closest to your breakthrough. That hesitation you feel is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is confirmation that you are standing at the threshold of something significant. Because the enemy does not waste effort on small steps. Doubt does not rise when nothing important is at stake. The intensity you feel right now is directly connected to the magnitude of what lies ahead. He is calling you forward, even as your mind tries to pull you backward. You may not realize it yet, but everything that happened yesterday, that closed door, that sudden shifted has brought you here. Not to stop you, but to position you, to remove distractions, to clear the path, to bring you face to face with the moment that requires your trust. Because this next step cannot be taken with half-belief. It cannot be taken while holding on to what God has already removed. It cannot be taken while looking back at what was lost. It requires something deeper, something stronger. It requires faith that is not based on what you see, but on who is guiding you. And He is speaking to you now, not in noise, not in chaos, but in a quiet, steady voice that says, "Come forward." Not when you feel ready. Not when everything makes sense. Not when fear disappears. But now in this moment exactly as you are. You have been waiting for a sign, haven't you? Waiting for confirmation that you are not about to make a mistake. Waiting for clarity before you move. But what if this feeling, this pull, this message is the confirmation you have been asking for? Because He does not always give you the full map before the first step. Sometimes He gives you just enough to move, just enough to trust, just enough to leave behind what no longer belongs in your future. And as you stand here, at this edge, you must make a decision. Will you let fear define your next step? Or will you let faith lead you into what has already been prepared for you? Understand this clearly. Staying where you are may feel safe, but it is not where your destiny is. The longer you hesitate, the more you delay what has already been set in motion for your life. The door ahead is not locked. It is waiting for your obedience, waiting for your movement, waiting for your yes. He is not asking you to have everything figured out. He is asking you to trust Him enough to step forward anyway. Because the moment you move, the moment you choose faith over fear, something shifts. Something unlocks. Something begins to align in ways you could not have orchestrated on your own. And suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to unfold. But it all starts here, at the edge. At the moment where you stop looking back and finally step into what is calling you forward. Type "I step in faith" in the comments if you are ready to move forward. Blessing code 2222 is now activating courage within you. There is something you still do not fully realize, something that heaven is revealing right now, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The door you were so disappointed about, it was not just a missed opportunity. It was a hidden trap, and you were never meant to see it. He sees you now, still wondering what could have been, still imagining how things might have worked out if that situation had gone differently. You replay conversations, You picture outcomes. You try to write the ending in your mind. But what you are imagining is not the full story. What you are seeing is only the surface, not the reality that was waiting behind it. Because if the door had opened, you would have stepped into something that looked right but was deeply misaligned. There were people connected to that path who did not carry the same spirit as you. There were environments that would have slowly drained your peace while pretending to grow your progress. There were agreements, expectations, and unseen pressures that would have wrapped around you, tightening over time, pulling you further away from who you are meant to become. But you couldn't see that. You only saw the opportunity. You only saw what it could give you, not what it would take from you. And that is why God stepped in the way He did. Not gently, not subtly, but decisively. He closed the door before you could walk through it. Understand this clearly. Some doors are not closed because you are unqualified. They are closed because you are too valuable. What was waiting behind that yes would have cost you more than you were willing to pay, even if you don't realize it yet. It would have demanded your time, your energy, your focus, your identity. It would have slowly reshaped your priorities, shifted your values, and pulled you into a version of yourself that was never aligned with your true calling. And the most dangerous part, you might not have noticed it at first, because traps do not announce themselves. They don't come with warning signs. They come disguised as progress. They come wrapped in excitement. They come looking like the answer you have been waiting for. But heaven sees beyond appearances. He saw the conversations you would have been pulled into. He saw the compromises you would have been pressured to make. He saw the exhaustion that would have replaced your peace. He saw the distractions that would have delayed your destiny. And because He loves you too much to let you settle for something beneath your purpose, He blocked it. That no was not rejection. It was rescue. You were being pulled away from something that could have quietly derailed your path. Something that would have kept you busy but not fulfilled. Something that would have looked successful but left you spiritually empty. And now, as this truth settles into your spirit, you may begin to feel something shift inside you. Not just relief but clarity. Because deep down, if you are honest with yourself, there were signs. There were moments when something didn't feel right. Small hesitations, quiet doubts, subtle discomfort that you tried to ignore because the opportunity looked too good to question. You pushed those feelings aside, telling yourself to stay positive, to stay hopeful, to not overthink. But that wasn't overthinking. That was discernment. And now you understand why it never fully settled in your spirit. Why something always felt slightly off, even when everything looked perfect on the outside. That was God already trying to protect you even before the door closed. You were never meant to force that path. You were never meant to convince yourself into something your spirit was quietly resisting. Because what is truly meant for you will not require you to abandon your peace to obtain it. And now, here you are not where you thought you would be, but exactly where you need to be. Protected, preserved, positioned. What feels like a delay is actually divine precision. What feels like loss is actually divine alignment. What feels like confusion is the clearing of a path you were never meant to walk. And here is the part you must hold on to now. If God went out of His way to block that door, it is because what He has prepared for you is far greater than what you were about to settle for. He did not remove something good to leave you with nothing. He removed something limited to make space for something abundant. So stop questioning why it didn't work out. Start trusting why it didn't. Because what you couldn't see, God already handled. And what He protected you from, you will one day thank Him for. Type "I trust what I couldn't see" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 3333 is now covering every unseen area of your life. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every revelation you receive is not just for you. It is a light meant to reach someone else still walking in confusion. When you sow into this message through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are planting seeds into souls that are searching for direction. The Lord says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and right now, your seed becomes a river carrying hope into dry places. I feel this strongly in my spirit. This is your moment to act, not casually, but prophetically, because obedience opens doors that effort cannot. As you give, you are aligning yourself with the very breakthrough you are believing for, releasing a flow that returns to you multiplied. Let your seed speak where your words cannot. Let it move where your faith is being stretched. Step into this divine moment now and release your offering with purpose, because heaven is watching your response. What if the very thing you were waiting for is already waiting for you? Not in the distance, not years away, not hidden beyond your reach, but positioned, aligned, and preparing to open at the exact moment you step into full agreement with what God is doing in your life right now. He is showing you something deeper in this moment. Not just what was closed, but what is about to open. Because there is a door ahead of you that is not ordinary. It is not small. It is not temporary. It is not limited to what you have experienced before. This is a door that carries weight. A door that carries expansion. A door that carries provision beyond what you have been asking for. And yet you always missed it. Not because it wasn't there, but because your focus was still on what didn't work out. You see, when one door closes, the natural instinct is to look back, to question, to analyze, to replay. But while your attention was behind you, something in front of you began to shift. Something began to prepare. Something began to align. This is what heaven wants you to understand right now. The next door is not just another opportunity, it is a multiplied one. The reason it feels delayed is because it is bigger. The reason it feels different is because it is designed differently. The reason it requires more trust is because it carries more responsibility, more impact, more reward than anything you have stepped into before. He is not bringing you into something average. He is not leading you into something that simply maintains your current level. He is preparing to elevate you into a space where your capacity will stretch, your influence will expand, and your life will begin to reflect a level of abundance that once felt out of reach. But here is where many people miss it. They expect the next door to look familiar. They expect it to resemble what they lost. They expect it to come in the same form, the same structure, the same pattern as what didn't work out. And because of that, they hesitate. They question it. They overlook it. But this door is different. It may not look like what you imagined. It may not come through the people you expected. It may not appear in the way you planned. But it carries something undeniable, something your spirit will recognize the moment you stop resisting and start trusting. This is not a replacement. This is an upgrade. And upgrades often require a shift in perspective before they can be fully received. Right now, he is stretching your vision, expanding your expectations, breaking the limits of what you thought was possible. Because if you try to carry your old mindset into this new door, you will not be able to fully step into what has been prepared for you. You must let go of the idea that your future will look like your past. Because what is ahead of you is not built on what you lost, it is built on what you are becoming. And what you are becoming is ready for more. More responsibility. More opportunity. More provision. More influence. More impact. That is why the previous door had to close. Because you were about to settle into something that could not contain the level of blessing that is now being released toward you. He is not withholding from you. He is preparing you. He is aligning you. He is positioning you to step into something that matches your calling, not your comfort zone. And this is where your faith must rise again. Because when this door begins to open, it may feel overwhelming at first. It may stretch you beyond what feels safe. It may require you to move quickly, to trust deeply, to act boldly. But understand this clearly. You are not being led into something you cannot handle. You are being led into something you were created for. Every experience you have had, every delay you endured, every lesson you learned, every closed door you faced, it has all been preparing you for this. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing was out of alignment. It was all leading here, to this moment, to this door, to this shift. And when it opens, it will not ask you if you feel ready. It will respond to whether you are willing to trust, willing to move, willing to step into what God has already declared over your life. Because this door does not open with hesitation. It opens with obedience. And once you step through it, everything begins to change. Type "I am ready" for more in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4444 is now unlocking expansion in your life. There is something happening around you right now, something subtle, something quiet, something easy to overlook if you are not paying attention. You are being guided, not in a loud, overwhelming way, not with a full blueprint laid out in front of you, but through small shifts, gentle nudges, repeated thoughts, unexpected ideas, and moments that seem ordinary on the surface yet carry something deeper within them. This is the map. Not a physical map you can hold in your hands. Not a clear set of directions written out step by step, but a living, unfolding guidance system that is being released to you piece by piece exactly as you are ready to receive it. And here is what you must understand. God rarely gives the full picture all at once. Because if He did, you might try to control it. You might try to rush it. You might try to adjust it based on your own understanding instead of trusting His. So instead, He leads you one step at a time. One decision. One realization. One moment of clarity. One act of obedience. And as you follow those steps, something begins to form. A path begins to reveal itself. A direction begins to feel clearer. A sense of alignment begins to settle within you. But only if you are paying attention. Because the instructions are already being released. Think back over the last few days, maybe even the last few weeks. There have been moments where something caught your attention more strongly than usual. A thought that stayed with you longer than expected. A feeling that nudged you in a certain direction. A conversation that seemed random but carried a message you needed to hear. Those were not coincidences. Those were coordinates. You are not wandering. You are being positioned. And the more you begin to recognize this, the more confident you will become in the direction you are being led. Because what once felt unclear will start to connect. What once felt scattered will begin to align. What once felt uncertain will begin to feel intentional. This is how divine guidance works. It does not overwhelm you with everything at once. It unfolds as you move. And this is where many people hesitate. They wait for complete clarity before they take the first step. They wait for absolute certainty before they make a move. They wait for every question to be answered before they act. But that is not how this map works. This map responds to movement. It reveals more as you obey what has already been shown. If you stay still, waiting for the full picture, you will remain in the same place. But the moment you act on what you do know, even if it feels small, even if it feels simple, the next piece begins to appear. That is how you move forward, step by step, moment by moment, decision by decision. And as you continue to follow this path, something powerful begins to happen. Your confidence shifts, not because you suddenly know everything, but because you begin to trust the one who is leading you. You begin to recognize his voice more clearly. You begin to distinguish his direction from your doubts. You begin to move with a sense of peace, even when the path is unfamiliar, because you know you are not creating this path on your own. You are being led into it. And this leads to something even greater, because this map is not just guiding you to an opportunity. It is guiding you to a place, a new environment, a new level, a new space where your life begins to reflect the fullness of what has been prepared for you. This is what is meant by your new home. Not just a physical location, although that may be part of it, but a spiritual position, a place of alignment, a place where what you carry within you matches what surrounds you, a place where your growth is supported, not resisted, a place where your peace is protected, not constantly challenged, a place where your purpose can expand without limitation. And right now you are being led toward it. Every closed door has redirected you toward it. Every delay has aligned you closer to it. Every moment of confusion has been clearing the path to it. You are not lost. You are navigating. And the map is already in motion. So stop doubting the small steps. Stop ignoring the subtle nudges. Stop questioning the direction just because it is unfamiliar. Because what feels unfamiliar is often the very sign that you are moving into something new. Something prepared. Something intentional. Something designed specifically for you. And as you continue to follow this guidance, one thing will become clear above all else: you are not figuring this out alone. You are being led home. Type "I follow the divine MAP" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5555 is now guiding your next steps with clarity. There is a question that has been quietly sitting in your heart, even if you have not spoken it out loud. Why did it take so long? Why did things not move when you expected them to? Why did doors stay closed when you felt ready to walk through them? Why did it feel like you were standing still while everything around you seemed to be moving forward? He has heard every one of those questions. And now, in this moment, the answer is being revealed to you, not as something to simply understand, but as something to finally accept. The delay was not punishment. The delay was preparation. You see, timing in your life is not random. It is not based on luck, and it is not controlled by the pace of others around you. It is governed by alignment. Alignment between who you are becoming and what you are being called into. Alignment between your mindset and your mission. Alignment between your readiness and your responsibility. And when those things are not fully aligned, movement pauses, not to frustrate you, but to protect what is ahead of you. Because what you have been asking for, what you have been praying for, what you have been hoping would finally happen, it carries weight. It carries influence. It carries consequences that extend beyond the moment you receive it. And if it had arrived before you were ready to carry it, it would not have blessed you the way it is meant to. It would have overwhelmed you. It would have distracted you. It might have even caused you to lose it. This is why the waiting season was necessary. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were being refined. He has been shaping your thinking even when you didn't realize it. Teaching you patience in moments where you wanted immediate answers. Strengthening your discipline when you felt like giving up. Building your awareness when things did not make sense. Developing your ability to trust, even when there was no visible progress. And while it may have felt like nothing was happening, everything was happening. Internally, spiritually, mentally, you were becoming someone who could handle what is coming next. Because what is coming next is not small. It is not simple. It is not something you can step into with the same mindset you had before. And that is why the delay could not be rushed. There were things in your life that needed to be removed before the next door could open. Certain habits, certain attachments, certain ways of thinking that would not survive in the environment you are about to enter. If those things had followed you into your next season, they would have limited you. So instead of allowing you to carry them forward, God slowed things down. He created space. He allowed you to see yourself more clearly. He allowed situations to reveal what needed to change. And even though it felt uncomfortable, even though it felt like progress was being held back, it was actually being preserved. Because now, as you stand here, you are not the same person you were when you first started asking for this breakthrough. Your perspective has shifted. Your priorities have changed. Your understanding has deepened. Your discernment has sharpened. And most importantly, your trust has grown. Not perfect, not complete, but stronger than it was before. And that is what makes the difference. Because the next season you are stepping into does not require perfection. It requires trust. Trust that even when things do not happen on your timeline, they are still happening in your favor. Trust that what is meant for you cannot pass you by. Trust that every delay carried a purpose, even if you could not see it at the time. And now the waiting is beginning to make sense. Because if things had moved faster, you would not be ready for what is about to open. If things had happened sooner, you might have settled for less than what is now being prepared. If the delay had not existed, the alignment would not be complete. And without alignment, the blessing would not last. But now you are aligned. Not perfectly, but intentionally. And that is enough. Enough for the next step to appear. Enough for the next door to open. Enough for movement to begin again. So stop questioning the time it took. Stop comparing your journey to others. Stop feeling like you missed something. Because nothing that was meant for you has been lost. It has only been timed. Timed for the moment when you could fully receive it, fully carry it, and fully walk in it without losing yourself along the way. And that moment is closer than you think. Type "I trust the timing" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6666 is now aligning every delay into purpose. There is a conversation happening inside you right now, and it is more important than you realize. It is not a conversation with other people. It is not something you can hear out loud. But it is constant, subtle, persistent. It speaks in your thoughts, in your reactions, in your moments of hesitation. And if you are not careful, it will shape the decisions you are about to make. Because as you stand on the edge of this new season, two voices are rising within you. One is pulling you forward. The other is holding you back. And the difference between them will determine everything that happens next. The first voice is quiet but steady. It does not rush you, but it does not leave you alone either. It brings a sense of peace, even when what it is asking feels unfamiliar. It speaks with clarity, even when the path is not fully visible. It does not argue. It does not pressure. It simply calls. This is the voice of God. The second voice is louder. It questions everything. It replays past failures. It reminds you of what didn't work, what went wrong, what could go wrong again. It speaks in what ifs and what if nots. It creates scenarios that have not happened and convinces you they will. It makes you hesitate, delay, and second-guess the very direction you are being led toward. This is the voice of doubt. And right now both voices are active. That is why you feel the tension. That is why you feel the pull. That is why you are standing in this moment, sensing something is about to change, but also feeling the weight of uncertainty trying to hold you in place. Because whenever you are about to step into something significant, the voice of doubt becomes louder. Not because it has power, but because it knows what is at stake. You must understand this clearly. Doubt is not always obvious. It does not always sound negative. Sometimes it sounds reasonable, logical, careful. It disguises itself as wisdom, telling you to wait, to be cautious, to not rush into something you are not sure about. And while caution has its place, this is not caution. This is hesitation rooted in fear. Because the voice of doubt is not trying to guide you. It is trying to delay you. It wants you to stay where things feel predictable, even if they are no longer aligned. It wants you to choose comfort over calling, familiarity over purpose, safety over growth. But the voice of God does something different. It calls you out of what is comfortable. It leads you into what requires trust. It invites you into movement, even when you do not have all the answers. And here is how you begin to discern between the two. The voice of doubt will always pull you backward or keep you stuck. The voice of God will always move you forward, even if the step is small. The voice of doubt will make you feel anxious, pressured, and uncertain. The voice of God will bring peace, even when the decision feels challenging. The voice of doubt will focus on what you might lose. The voice of God will remind you of what you are stepping into. And right now you are being asked to choose which voice you will follow, because the next step in your journey depends on it. You cannot move forward while listening to a voice that is designed to hold you back. You cannot step into something new while constantly replaying what is behind you. You cannot receive what is ahead if your mind is still anchored in fear. This is why discernment matters now more than ever. Because not every thought that enters your mind deserves your agreement. Not every feeling deserves your trust. Not every hesitation deserves your attention. You must become aware of what you are allowing to guide you. Because the direction of your life is shaped by the voice you choose to follow. And here is the truth that will ground you in this moment. God is not leading you into confusion. If what you are sensing feels aligned, peaceful, and purposeful, even if it stretches you, it is not coming from doubt. It is coming from Him. And if what you are hearing is filled with fear, hesitation, and endless questioning that leads nowhere, it is not guidance. It is resistance. You are not meant to stay in this internal battle. You are meant to rise above it, to recognize it, to separate truth from noise, to silence what is not serving your next step, and to move forward with clarity. Because the moment you stop listening to doubt, its power disappears. And the moment you align with God's voice, everything begins to make sense. Not all at once, but enough to move, enough to trust, enough to step into what is already waiting for you. So listen carefully now, not to the noise, but to the truth that has been quietly guiding you all along. Because that voice, the one that calls you forward with peace, is the one that will lead you exactly where you are meant to be. Type "I hear God's voice" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7777 is now sharpening your discernment. Here is a moment that is closer than you think, a moment that does not announce itself in advance, a moment that does not give you time to overthink, a moment that arrives suddenly and changes everything you thought you understood about timing. This is the moment of the shift. You have been in a season where things felt slow, where progress felt delayed, where answers felt distant, where movement seemed almost invisible. You questioned whether anything was really happening at all. You wondered if you were stuck, if you were behind, if you had missed something along the way. But what you could not see was that everything was being set into place. Quietly, precisely, intentionally. Because when God prepares something significant, it does not always unfold gradually in the way you expect. Sometimes, it builds beneath the surface, hidden from your view, until the exact moment everything is ready. And when that moment comes, it does not creep in slowly. It arrives suddenly. And when it does, everything begins to change at once. The connections you have been waiting for appear. The clarity you have been seeking becomes obvious. The opportunities that once felt out of reach suddenly become accessible. The doors that were closed begin to open without resistance. This is the nature of divine acceleration. It does not operate on your timeline. It operates on alignment. And now that you have been aligned, prepared, and positioned, the shift is no longer distant. It is approaching. But here is what you must understand about this moment. When it comes, it will not feel like your waiting season. It will feel faster, more intense, more demanding. Because what took time to prepare will move quickly when it is released. You will need to make decisions faster. You will need to act with confidence. You will need to trust what you have been learning, even if you do not have time to analyze every detail. And this is where many people hesitate. They pray for movement, but when it comes, they slow it down with doubt. They ask for opportunity, but when it arrives, they question whether they are ready. They wait for change, but when change begins, they cling to what is familiar. Do not let that be you. Because this shift is not random. It is the result of everything you have already gone through. Every delay you experienced was building toward this acceleration. Every lesson you learned was preparing you for this moment. Every closed door was clearing the path for this opening. And now, the movement is about to match the preparation. But you must be ready to move with it. Because when God moves, He does not wait for you to feel comfortable. He moves when everything is aligned. And your role is not to control the pace. Your role is to respond. To recognize the moment when it arrives. To step into it without hesitation. To trust that you are ready, even if it feels overwhelming. Because this shift is not here to confuse you. It is here to confirm you. To show you that everything you thought was delayed was actually being timed perfectly. To reveal that what felt like silence was actually preparation. To demonstrate that what you have been waiting for was never denied, only delayed for the right moment. And that moment is now drawing near. You will begin to notice it. At first, it may feel like small changes, a new opportunity, a new connection, a new idea that feels stronger than usual. But those small changes will not stay small. They will build. They will connect. They will expand. And before you realize it, you will find yourself in a completely different position than where you once were. That is how the shift works. It starts quietly. Then it accelerates. Then it transforms everything. And when you look back, you will see that it all happened faster than you expected. Faster than you thought possible. But only because it was already prepared. So do not be afraid of the speed. Do not resist the movement. Do not question the timing. Because what is about to happen is not out of control. It is divinely controlled. And you have been chosen to step into it. Type "I am ready for the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8888 is now activating divine acceleration in your life. As you step into this moment of divine acceleration, understand that your obedience is not only transforming your life, it is becoming a channel through which others will find their way. Every seed you release through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description becomes a spark of light in someone else's darkness, a stream of provision flowing into lives that are waiting for this very message. The Lord declares, as you give, it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise over your action right now. I feel this call clearly. This is your moment to respond, not out of routine, but out of revelation. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic step that aligns you with the very flow of increase you are stepping into. Release your seed with intention and watch how heaven multiplies what you place in His hands. Move now, with faith, and let your obedience speak louder than your hesitation. There is something you are about to step into that will not feel like where you have been. It will not carry the same patterns. It will not reflect the same limitations. It will not operate under the same expectations that once defined your environment. And at first that difference may feel uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it is new. B is bringing you into a territory your past cannot follow. And this is where the real shift begins. Because leaving familiar ground is not just about changing your surroundings. It is about releasing the version of yourself that was shaped by those surroundings. It is about stepping away from old mindsets, old habits, old expectations, and old definitions of what your life is supposed to look like. And that is not always easy. Because familiarity creates a sense of control. Even when it is limiting you, even when it is no longer aligned, even when it is keeping you in a place you have outgrown, it still feels known, predictable, manageable. But growth does not happen in what is familiar. It happens in what stretches you. And right now, you are being stretched. You are being called into a space where you will have to think differently, move differently, and respond differently than you have before. A space where your old patterns will no longer work, where your previous ways of navigating situations will feel out of place. This is not a setback. This is expansion. Because what worked for you in your last season was only meant to take you so far. It was never designed to carry you into where you are going now. And if you try to hold onto it, if you try to recreate what once felt comfortable, you will find yourself resisting the very thing you have been praying for. This new territory requires a new mindset. It requires you to trust yourself in ways you have not before, to make decisions without relying on the same validations you once needed, to step forward even when you cannot compare your next move to anything you have done in the past. And this is where many people struggle. They enter a new season, but they try to navigate it with old thinking. They step into new opportunities, but they respond with old habits. They are surrounded by new possibilities, but they limit themselves based on old beliefs. And because of that, they cannot fully experience the expansion that was meant for them. Do not let that be you. Because what is ahead of you is not meant to be filtered through your past. It is meant to be embraced as something entirely new. You are not being relocated just physically. You are being repositioned spiritually, emotionally, mentally. This is a full transition, and transitions require release. Release of what no longer fits. Release of what no longer serves. Release of what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. There will be moments where you feel the urge to go back, to return to what you understand, to reconnect with what feels easier, to stay within the boundaries that once defined your comfort zone. But you must resist that urge, because going back is not where your future is. What is behind you cannot sustain what is ahead of you. And this is why the shift feels so significant. Because you are not just stepping into something new. You are stepping away from everything that could no longer hold you. And yes, there will be moments of uncertainty. Moments where you question if you are doing the right thing. Moments where the unfamiliar feels overwhelming. But those moments are not signs to retreat. They are confirmations that you are moving beyond your old limitations. That you are stepping into a space where growth is inevitable. Where expansion is unavoidable. Where your life begins to reflect a level of alignment that you have never experienced before. And as you continue to move forward, something powerful will begin to happen. The unfamiliar will become familiar. The uncertainty will become clarity. The discomfort will become confidence. Because you will begin to realize that this new territory is not something you are trying to adapt to. It is something you were always meant to step into. It is not foreign to your purpose. It is aligned with it. You are not out of place here. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. So do not shrink. Do not hold back. Do not try to fit this new season into your old understanding. Allow yourself to expand into it fully. Because this is not just a change of environment. This is a change of identity. And the version of you that belongs here is ready to rise. Type I embrace the NEW in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9999 is now expanding your territory. There is something you need to understand about everything you have lost, everything that slipped through your hands, everything that did not work out the way you expected. None of it was the end. Even though it felt final. Even though it felt irreversible. Even though it felt like something you could never get back. He is speaking to you now with clarity, and the message is this. What was lost was not erased, it was being repositioned for restoration. You see, when something leaves your life, your first instinct is to grieve it, to focus on the absence, to feel the gap it created. You remember how things used to be. You compare what you have now to what you once had. And in that comparison, it feels like something has been taken from you. But heaven does not operate in subtraction alone. It operates in multiplication. And sometimes, what looks like loss is actually the beginning of increase. Because what was removed from your life was not meant to remain in its original form. It had to be released so it could return in a way that is greater, stronger, and more aligned with who you are becoming. This is the part you could not see before. Because restoration is not always immediate. It does not always happen in the same place, through the same people, or in the same form. It unfolds over time, quietly, strategically, and often unexpectedly. There were things you held on to that could not follow you into your next season. Not because they were bad, but because they were limited. They could only serve you at a certain level. And once you began to grow beyond that level, they no longer matched the capacity of your future. So they were removed. Not to leave you empty, but to make room. Room for something that matches where you are going, not where you have been. And now, as you stand in this new position, you may still feel the echo of what was lost. You may still think about what could have been. You may still carry questions about why certain things had to end the way they did. But here is the truth that will shift everything for you. What is coming back into your life will not look like what you lost. It will exceed it. Because restoration is not about returning you to the past. It is about advancing you into something greater than your past. The relationships that were lost will be replaced by connections that are deeper, more aligned, and more supportive of your growth. The opportunities that slipped away will be replaced by doors that carry more value, more stability, and more potential. The time you feel you wasted will be redeemed through moments that accelerate your progress in ways you could not have planned. Nothing that was taken from you will leave you at a disadvantage. Everything will be restored in a way that places you in a stronger position than before. This is how divine restoration works. It does not just give back, it upgrades. And this is why you must release the attachment to what was. Because holding on to the past will limit your ability to receive what is coming. If you keep comparing your future to your past, you will not recognize the increase when it arrives. If you keep expecting things to return in the same form, you will overlook the grayer version that is being presented to you. You must allow yourself to see restoration differently, not as a return, but as a transformation. Because what you are stepping into is not meant to recreate what you had. It is meant to surpass it. And as this begins to unfold, you will start to notice something remarkable. The things you once cried over will no longer hold the same weight. The losses that once felt heavy will begin to make sense. The endings that once confused you will reveal their purpose. Because you will see clearly that what left your life was not meant to stay, and what is coming into your life was worth the wait. This is not coincidence. This is design. This is the fulfillment of what was always meant for you, just arriving in a way you did not expect. So do not hold on to what is gone. Do not limit your expectations based on what you have already experienced. Do not assume that what you lost defines what you will receive. Because what is being restored to you now carries more than you can currently imagine. And when it arrives, you will understand why everything had to happen the way it did. Type "I receive my restoration" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activating divine restoration in your life. There is something you must hear clearly in this moment. Something that may challenge you, something that may confront a part of you that is still holding on even if you do not fully realize it yet. Do not go back. Not emotionally, not mentally, not physically, not in any form. Because what God has removed from your life was removed with intention. And yet, there is still a part of you that feels the pull. You feel it in quiet moments, in memories that resurface unexpectedly, in thoughts that ask, "What if I tried again?" In feelings that try to convince you that maybe it wasn't as misaligned as it seemed, that maybe things could be different this time, that maybe you gave up too soon. But that is not clarity. That is familiarity trying to reclaim its place. You must understand something deeply important. Just because something feels familiar does not mean it is right for your future. Familiarity is powerful. It carries comfort. It carries history. It carries emotional weight. And because of that, it can make something that was once necessary to leave feel like something worth returning to. But God does not remove things from your life without reason. And He does not ask you to move forward only to watch you walk backward into what He already delivered you from. There is a reason that door closed. There is a reason that connection shifted. There is a reason that environment no longer held you. There is a reason you felt the discomfort that pushed you to step away. And even if you did not fully understand it, then you must trust that it was not random. It was revelation. You were being shown something that could not continue with you. Something that would have limited you. Something that would have conflicted with where you are going. And now, as you stand on the edge of your next season, the test is not whether you can move forward. The test is whether you will stay forward. Because moving forward once is one thing, but remaining there requires discipline. It requires awareness. It requires the ability to recognize when old patterns, old connections, or old thoughts try to pull you back into a place you have already outgrown. And they will try. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it will come through nostalgia. Sometimes through loneliness. Sometimes through doubt. Sometimes through the illusion that going back would be easier than continuing forward. But easier does not mean better. And easier does not mean aligned. Because what is behind you may feel simpler, but it cannot support who you are becoming. You have already seen what that path leads to. You have already experienced its limits. You have already felt the weight of what it required from you. And returning to it would not bring a different result. It would only delay what is already unfolding ahead of you. This is why this moment matters so much. Because as new doors begin to open, as new opportunities begin to appear, as your life begins to shift, the temptation to compare it to your past will increase. You may find yourself measuring what is new against what is familiar, questioning whether the unknown is worth leaving behind what you once understood. But you must remember this. The past does not carry your future. What is behind you has already served its purpose, and holding on to it now will only create resistance in your next step. You cannot fully step into something new while keeping one foot in what is old. You cannot receive what is ahead while still being emotionally attached to what is behind. You must choose, fully, decisively, without hesitation, because the version of you that is stepping into this next season cannot afford to be divided. You are being called into clarity, into focus, into alignment that requires your full presence. And that means releasing everything that no longer belongs, not partly, not temporarily, but completely. This is not loss. This is refinement. This is not restriction. This is protection. This is not something being taken from you. This is something being cleared for you. So when the thought comes to go back, recognize it for what it is, and test, not of your strength, but of your alignment. And in that moment, choose forward, choose growth, choose the unknown that carries purpose over the familiar that carries limitation. Because what is ahead of you is worth leaving everything else behind. And the moment you fully let go is the moment everything ahead begins to open without resistance. Type "I do not go back" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1112 is now sealing your forward path. Now this is the moment everything has been leading to. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not someday in the future when everything feels perfect and complete. This moment right here is where your activation begins. He is not speaking to the version of you that was confused. He is not calling the version of you that was stuck. He is not waiting for the version of you that doubted your direction. He is calling the version of you that is awake now. The one who sees clearly. The one who understands what that no truly meant. The one who has felt the shift, recognized the pattern, and knows that something bigger is unfolding. Because activation does not happen when everything is comfortable. It happens when truth becomes undeniable. And right now you know. You know that something has changed. You know that you cannot go back. You know that what is ahead of you is not optional, it is necessary. And this is where many people hesitate one final time. They receive the message. They feel the confirmation. They sense the shift. But they stop just short of fully stepping into it. They wait for another sign, another confirmation, another moment of reassurance before they commit to the next step. But listen carefully, this is your confirmation. This is your moment. This is the line between knowing and doing. Because knowledge without movement changes nothing. Understanding without action produces no transformation. And clarity without obedience keeps you standing in the same place. You have been shown enough. You have been prepared enough. You have been aligned enough. Now you must move. Not in fear, not in hesitation, but in certainty that you are not stepping into this alone. Because as you step forward, something powerful happens. What once felt distant begins to meet you. What once felt out of reach begins to come closer. What once felt uncertain begins to align around you. Because activation is not just about you moving toward your destiny. It is about your destiny responding to your movement. And this is where everything begins to shift permanently. You are no longer waiting. You are walking. You are no longer questioning. You are deciding. You are no longer hoping things will change. You are stepping into the change itself. This is where your new season begins. Not when everything is visible, but when you decide to move based on what has been revealed. Because what hath been revealed to you is not small. It is not temporary. It is not something you can ignore and expect your life to remain the same. This is a turning point, a defining moment, a line you cross that changes the direction of everything that follows. And once you cross it, there is no returning to who you used to be. Because you have seen too much. You have understood too much. You have been shown too clearly what is ahead of you. So now step into it. Fully. Without holding back. Without dividing your attention between past and future. Without allowing doubt to interrupt what has already been confirmed. This is your time, your moment, your activation, and everything that has been prepared for you is already responding to your decision. So take the step, not later, not eventually, but now. Type "I step into my NEW season" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activating your destiny. As you step into this new season, understand this truth. Your obedience is not only unlocking your path, it is lighting the way for countless others who are still searching for theirs. Every seed you release through super thanks or the PayPal link in the description becomes a flame in someone else's darkness, a divine spark that carries this message beyond you into hearts that are waiting for breakthrough. The Lord declares, "Test me in this and see if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing." And this is not just scripture. It is a living invitation calling you to act now. I feel this deeply. This is your moment to move in faith, to respond not as a viewer, but as a vessel chosen to fuel this mission. Your giving is not support. It is alignment. It is a prophetic act that places you directly in the flow of divine increase. Release your seed with authority, knowing that what you sow in this moment will echo back into your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. Step forward now and let your obedience speak.